So mind you, we didn't really know what the issue was, but at that point, made the appointments, trying to figure things out. So probably like a week goes by, and he calls me and he's like, "Hey, can you come out?" And I said, "Sure." So he picked me up in his car. Now, mind you, we were in college. Both of us had a year left to graduate from our specialties. And when that happened, we were still going to school. Everything was still kind of normal. We were still dating, nothing crazy. Now, I was working full time because I come from a very humble background. So it wasn't like something I could just go to school and have a great time. I was having a great time going to school, but I was also working full time with benefits. And so he picks me up. I get in the car. He then starts crying. I'm like, "What's going on?" And he's like, "Hey, would you still love me if I die? And I'm, going to leave this world in a little bit." I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "The test came back and they're saying that I only have 6 months left because I have a very aggressive type of liver cancer." And, when we found that out, at the time, his insurance, and I'm not going to really talk much about it, but there wasn't any coverage due to some issues when it comes to family. And so we made the decision, since I was working full time, that we would get married and he would be able to benefit from my insurance while he was, trying to figure out what we could do to save him. And so, during those 6 months, we ended up traveling, we ended up trying to pray. He was super atheist, didn't believe in God, didn't believe in Jesus, didn't believe in any of those things. So like I was mentioning, he was super atheist, didn't believe in anything. Just pretty much said, like, it is what it is. There's no reason for me to pray. There's no reason for me to try to ask for salvation. It's never going to happen. And so, I kind of dragged him to church, tried getting him to have some sort of faith, even though I myself didn't really know much about faith or how to fix that or how to ask or how to see or how to at least get yourself right. But as his disease progressed, there was really nothing they could do. He didn't want to be a guinea pig. The type of cancer that he had was very aggressive, and only like 1 in 100 people in the world get it a year. And mostly happens to very, very young people. So, I tried everything I could really to, make sure that he got what he needed. We did a lot of things with the family, his friends, his family, his mom and his brother. And, for me, towards the end when he, we thought he was going to die, there was just one morning he woke up and he just was completely disoriented. He didn't know what was going on. He didn't know who I was. He was being super aggressive. And it turns out that when you're super sick and you're not able to go, it really the toxins mess with your brain, and you just kind of lose that person, their sense of self. And he kind of fell into a coma. And at the time, I had both my parents. My mom's super Catholic. She's like, "Hey, we need to get a priest. We need to do like his last, I forget what it's called, but pretty much like in case he passes, we want to make sure he's good." So we got a priest there, and he did, what he did. And later that night he came to, and he was, back to normal after, they had given him some medication and stuff like that. And so, that night passed, and he was still not 100% himself. It was like he was weak, but not mentally there per se. Like he had lost a little bit of sense of self. And so for, I want to say a full week, I was very lucky. I had very close friends. Some of my sorority sisters had come over again. Remember, we're young, we're still in college. We end up having them come over and kind of help so that we could all... I have to keep pausing the video because I'm just getting a lot of interruptions. So not quite sure if I'm supposed to be telling the story, and if I am, something's trying to stop it. But with that, we we tried helping him during that week. I had people that were rotating because he just became very active, especially at night. He would try to get up and walk to go and pretty much wander. He didn't know where he was going. But he was also very weak, so it wasn't like something that he could just get up and just go, because it would affect him. And he could fall. And, when you have a very aggressive type of cancer, for him specifically, he was very skinny. We couldn't, have him gain weight. The medication was so strong that he was just throwing up often. So even with all of that, and going back to remembering, he's atheist. He started saying, I see God and he has different names, and, I've seen him. And I said, well, can you tell me what he looks like? And he didn't tell me. So fast forward, one of the nights that he was extremely active, just getting up, he wouldn't go to sleep, got up a couple times from the bed. He was strong, so it wasn't like I could just hold him down. Finally, I got him to lay down on this air mattress that one of my friends was sleeping on, and I kind of laid down with him, and I was falling asleep a little bit, and out of nowhere he kind of raises his hand and he started praying and saying, God, I am ready. I know that you exist. Take me with you. And I was shocked. He kept saying, that he was seeing this big city. He said that he saw things pretty much closest towards the end of his life. He said to me, Zimmerman is out there. Zimmerman is, they're knocking on the door, they're gonna come. And I'm like, we lived in an apartment, so obviously I knew people at the downstairs and people upstairs were going to be knocking on the door. So he kept mentioning this, and his I guess you can call cousin was like, hey, Zimmerman means carpenter in German. And his background, he had some German in him and Italian. And so we just thought it was interesting, but he kept saying, these people are going to come, they're going to come get me. At that point, I called his mom, let him know that he was not doing very well. And, he, went to sleep. He woke up and he was completely conscious, completely like his normal self. And he, promised me that I would, live my life. He asked me to kind of lay with him and on his, hospice bed, because we did have hospice at home. And he told me, hey, there's a pizza spot up there, and he was very excited about that, and promised, I had my dad promise him he'd take care of me. And later that night, he passed. And, that was kind of the beginning of my story with God. And you would think, oh, okay, well, she just went through something super traumatic, so her relationship with God is going to be the best. And it actually wasn't. For a very long time, I was highly upset at God, to the point where I didn't want to be Christian. I was looking into other religions because I couldn't believe that something like this would happen, And I think that a lot of people that don't go through grief and have, something impactful like that happen, don't understand how the people that are going through it feel. There's this sense of, you go out into the world and everyone's happy and everybody's living their life, and you're upset. You're upset at the world. You're like, why are they happy? Why did it have to be me? Why am I the one that has to suffer? Why is it the person that I love that has died? And you become very angry at the things around you, your circumstance, and it can really spiral. Not everybody has those feelings, granted, but a lot of people do, I always say sometimes it's easier to deal with people that have that are passing, because they're going to pass, versus a surprise passing, right? We had the ability to go through that with him, but it was an experience that at the time when I was 23 was very impactful. And for me, I took care of him until his last breath. And I learned a lot. You know, one of the biggest things I learned is that you don't take anything with you. You don't take any of the material things. And he even told me, he's like, you know, you can buy me a birthday gift, because it was his birthday right before, a few months before he passed. But what I'm going to take is the memory. What I'm going to take is the moment, what we did, what we didn't do. And so, you know, again, we did a lot of stuff. He did a lot of stuff. He went skydiving, and he traveled, and he saw friends that he hadn't seen in quite some time. And so that whole experience for me was the cusp of entering a new era in my life, where I felt this anger and the I don't care, I don't give you know what about anyone or anything, I'm gonna live my life, which made me really spiral into having really negative people around me. You know, I ended up in a relationship for a long time that was not the best relationship for me. Somebody who didn't care about me, somebody who cheated on me, someone who is, you know, they promise you all these things and nothing that's promised ever happens. But also, you know, I myself as a human being wasn't really living very godly and just not doing things properly. I felt like I was going to find this, this thing that was going to just pluck the hole that I currently had. That anger that I had with Jesus, the anger that I had because of the circumstance, all of that came together, and it really made me feel like I just couldn't get past it, right? I made bad decisions. I would drink, and I would, you know, smoke, and I would party, and I would not really care about my finances. Even though there was this other part of me that aggressively wanted to make it in my career, aggressively wanted to be someone, aggressively wanted to be someone that was respected. But yeah, I wasn't living any of those values. And it took, you know, a long time of really going against the grain and scratching myself to the point of, like, you know, having to fully understand my life and my situation to get closer to God. And, you know, looking back now at many of the situations, I felt like God was trying to reach me. I remember my mom, she tried to really get me to go to church and to be closer to God. And she had brought some people over from the church. I had no idea who they were, of course. I would say that the demon inside me probably at the time was upset that they were even there. And I'll never forget this woman. I don't know who the woman is, and I want to thank her because I saw something in her that I hadn't seen with anyone else at the time. And I'm getting emotionally because I remember it so clearly. These people came and they were praying, and they were praying for me. They were praying over my household. I had accomplished, you know, I was successful in my career, and I was able at the time that I was 25 to buy my own home, even though it wasn't like, oh my God, luxurious home or anything like that, but I was able to do that. And so they came, they were doing like a whole prayer, and this woman's like, you know, your mom wants me to pray for you. And I was like, there's no reason for you to pray for me because I don't believe in Jesus. You know, I've given up on him because he decided that he wanted to take away somebody that I loved, and my life just hasn't been the same since. And I remember when I said that, you know, I think a lot of Christians forget that part of being a Christian and that part of being with God, was that a lot of the times when you have someone react that way, right, and they say these things, you automatically go into like defense, like, okay, no, now we're defensive, like you have to believe in God, you have to believe in Jesus. She didn't do that. What I saw in that moment was this person who, when I spoke the words and when I said them, I could feel her heart and her face just completely change and become very saddened. Now, she didn't say she was sad, but I felt it. And when I saw that in her soul, in her eyes, because, you know, the eyes are the window to your soul, whatever was impulsing me to just be like aggressive and mad and angry kind of just like calmed down. And she's like, I'm sorry you feel that way, you know, and I want you to know that God loves you and that Jesus loves you and that you need to come back to him. And she started praying. And so during this whole time that this is happening, still living my life, still doing what I want, late nights, you know, going out, doing whatever, not respecting my own home, not respecting my parents. This was where I know I failed. And, you know, in our next video, I'll talk about who, you know, sometimes I believe was an angel in disguise, was a coworker who planted a seed that then started growing. But it wasn't a seed that grew so quickly that, oh my gosh, like here I am. No, it was a seed that was planted and slowly started growing so that the relationship was there with God.